Loses to Oregon 23-0 in the Orange Bowl with Conrad Mills, Zyler Buchanan. I am Brennan Baxter here on the Broadway Shuffle, reacting, unfortunately, to the end of the Texas Tech football season in Miami. Conrad, Zyler, look, there's a lot of ways we can go. Clearly, the offense did not do enough in this game. Zyler, I'll go to you first, just reacting to what you saw on the field today. We can talk a lot about Behren Morton's performance and play calling and different things that didn't lend you to scoring 20 plus points, but just your overall thoughts on the game and what you thought offensively from Texas Tech today.
Yeah, I mean, tough effort. Obviously, not what that offensive staff wanted, not what Behren wanted, not what Leftwich wanted or Joey wanted. I think it's unfortunate that you got maybe the worst effort of Barron's career as a Red Raider and maybe the biggest game of Texas Tech's career. And I think Behren would tell you that. I'm not the only one that thinks that. He would be the first one to tell you that. And it's like I always say, and this is not the same level, but nobody hates their game more than the person playing it. In most cases, he's taken this harder than anybody else. Just really, it's just tough. I mean, you didn't get many explosive plays. You got the one to TC. You had the one Jacoby Williams busted play, and that was really it. It was a tough effort, and not really a lot to hang your hat on there.
Yeah, Conrad, I mean, looking at Behren, 18 of 32, 137 yards, the fumble strip that led to a touchdown, the two interceptions, and then just the overall performance of missed throws and different things. But it just looked like a clearly outmatched effort from the offensive side of the ball against Oregon. And you just like Zyler just alluded to it, outside of Jacoby Williams on a broken play run and then a Reggie Virgil catch on the sideline, there was nothing for Texas Tech against Oregon. What'd you think of the performance specifically with Behren, and why do you feel like Texas Tech was just not able to do anything offensively in this game?
Yeah, before we talk about Texas Tech, and we need to do that, we need to give kudos to Oregon. I mean, Oregon, that's a top five defense in college football. I mean, unbelievable defense they have. Now, does that
Great point.
excuse the effort we had on the offensive side of the ball? I don't think so. You would have thought you could have at least scored 1 point. You couldn't do that, and that's disappointing, right? That's disappointing for all of us. I was not expecting this. I mean, I think we all thought, well, defense travels. We'll be okay there. Like, we'll be all right with defense. Um, but to come out and have that type of performance from the offense is just something that I'm still shocked by. I don't know that I really have words for it. Barron's performance, and again, Zyler would tell you this. Behren would tell you this. I just got done watching the press conference. Behren was in tears the whole time. I mean, there's no person in the world that feels worse about how he played the Behren. Oregon did some good things, but honestly, it all comes down to execution, and that's what we see from the offensive side of the ball and Behren specifically. And so that was really discouraging to me. It's hard because like you guys have said all year. I mean, our support for Behren as a person, as a Red Raider, goes without saying, right? We've said that numerous times. What's been hard for Behren is, and Brennan, what you've said, Zyler, Clayton, I think we've all said this, is Behren the guy to go win you a big game? And the answer was no. The answer is still no, and that's just what stinks for everything, for him, for us, and that's what makes it really hard to watch, especially knowing that his legacy as a Red Raider, which was already really good, just because being the first quarterback to win a Big 12 championship, I mean, that's huge. But what happened today, at least right now for me, puts a really sour taste in my mouth. Again, that's no disrespect to him as a Red Raider, him as a person, him as even a quarterback. It's just the way this ended today is really, really hard to swallow.
Yeah, Z, it'd be one thing if Oregon was able to move the ball on you and you just looked completely outmatched as a team across the board. Now, special teams obviously struggled. You had the missed field goal, the fake punt. There was a lot of things, the offsides call that led to a field goal, a lot of things that were a problem across the board. But one thing that wasn't was defense, and that did travel, and that played phenomenally. And kudos to David Bailey and Jacob Rodriguez and Ben Roberts and all the guys. And Brendan Jordan made a ton of great tackles
Ton of
coming into the
plays.
seams, like a ton of ankle tackles. And they just kept you in the game, even when they were starting on Oregon's side of the field and having to hold them to field goals. But it just feels like you could have won this game had you had any sort of offensive output, anything from Behren Morton or the run game. And it just didn't happen in Miami at all. And that's what's hard, is because you came in as arguably, at least on a profile metric, Zyler is a top 10 offense in the country, and you looked nothing like that today.
Yeah, and I think we talked about some of this. What happens when a team really, with enough talent to do it, commits to making you dink and dunk down the field? Now, I think you saw some teams try to do that with various degrees of effect, but nobody had the skill or the talent in the trenches to really commit to that bit long term, and have enough success with it to actually work. And you just really were not that 3 safety look really bothered Behren. He did not feel comfortable in the pocket. He was not stepping up. And I don't want to pour gasoline on him, because your offensive line didn't help you much in the run blocking game. You didn't break many tackles. You just didn't do a lot of things well. And I didn't think Behren saw the field well. Just all around tough. And credit to Oregon. It's not like it was the Monterey JV high school team just running around there and we couldn't beat them. They forced a lot of that. Now, and they made great plays on the ball. They were making plays that I don't think he frankly saw from a lot of Big 12 defenses this year. Now, I'll ask the chat this. I thought it was the best effort your defense gave all year. I thought that was the best performance I had seen, given the offensive opponent that you played all season. And David Bailey probably had his best game as a Red Raider, given the opponent. I thought you played well enough to win on that side of the ball easily. You held them to 1.6 yards per carry. It's 60 yards rushing.
And
that's
Oregon
the number
likes
one
to
rushing team in the country.
Yep.
Yeah, and nobody's gonna. We don't get to hang a banner for holding Oregon to less than 2 yards a carry in the Orange Bowl. Nobody remembers that. It is frustrating that I think you had a national title caliber defense, and you just couldn't. I don't think if we play this Oregon team 100 times that our average points scored is 0. I think that's a little bit fluky, but I don't think that it was entirely fluky. They clearly were the better unit than you.
Well, if you would have told me, not counting the touchdown at the very end of the game that didn't really matter, that you would give up essentially 16 points to Oregon, and I was like, yeah, I would take that. I would take that to start the game. If you're telling me that Oregon is having 16 points, not counting a last-minute touchdown just for the hell of it, that you're going to win that football game. And I just can't get past, you mentioned it, some of the reads, like the pass to Douglas down in double coverage, the second half, he had a Reggie Virgil running open the middle. He had Koy Aiken open over the middle there as well on a little curl route. And it just seemed like he was flustered from the get-go. There were balls that were going into the ground on checkdowns and behind Jacoby Williams. And I was sitting right behind the goalpost, so I could see these formations happening. And even the best, like you guys make fun of Josh Allen with the Bills all the time, and he missed a throw against, this last week against the Eagles, and he just played a bad game as one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But in college, to be the best, we saw what Fernando Mendoza did today against Alabama. He was great, and he was moving around the pocket, and his eyes were moving around the field, manipulating the defense. And so, I just think that when you don't have a quarterback that can go win you a game, and we talked about this all year with Behren, it just comes out at the worst moments against top quality talent. And so, unfortunately for Texas Tech and for Behren Morton, that happened at the worst possible time, and it just showed today. It showed, and I just think that you tip your hat to Oregon, but at the same time, it was not a great effort on the offensive side of the ball. Conrad, do you feel like play calling had anything to do with this, or was it just you chalk it up to a really bad performance from your quarterback?
I mean, I don't know if play calling can make a difference when you stare down Reggie Virgil and throw the ball right into the arms of the Oregon defensive back. I don't know if play calling makes a difference when you miss Reggie Virgil wide open down the middle. I don't know if play calling makes a difference when you take a sack fumble that you shouldn't take. Like you can talk about coaches all you want. One of our friends likes to do that. And again, I'm not trying to just say that there weren't some play calls that Coach Leftwich would like to have back. I mean, I'm sure there are. That's just how it goes. But when you don't execute, which we didn't the whole game, that's what's going to make the difference. Like when you just miss, like there were guys like Reggie was wide open, or was it Caleb or Reggie that was wide open on the? It was Caleb that was wide open.
Kind of the crossing route. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah. That he threw into double coverage with Reggie. And then Caleb was wide open on a drag route that would have gone for 35, 40 yards early on in the first quarter. that it's one of those things where I'm like, what's going on? And again, this is not to just pile on Behren. He knows. I mean, we don't know that he knows, but he knows. Like he knows he didn't play well. He knows he didn't play well, and that's what's tough for me is just like looking at this defense and looking at this team and looking at this year. Is we knew that the worst or not worst, but the Achilles heel was probably quarterback where you didn't have a Dante Moore type of quarterback, which Dante didn't play great today either. But you didn't have a guy that could go win you a game like a Mendoza, which there are very few of those guys that exist. But at the same time, it was just like it was such a below average performance that it's something that we're focusing on right now and something that Tech fans are going to focus on for a long time.
Yeah, Brennan, being there, what did you guys see? Because you probably haven't watched the television copy yet. Stuff that you saw maybe on the field that we might have missed, because all I see is what I can get from the house in Ransom Canyon. Like, what did you guys see out there?
Yeah, I mean, so I was sitting right behind the Oregon band, so I got to see it from the end zone forward. So I was able to see a lot of these formations in the lineup, and there were just moments like just checkdowns, reads. It just seemed off, even from the beginning. Like the play calling coming out very fast. You go 3 and out. And he's just kind of checking down to Jacoby. And then even some of the screen plays, the ones to Terrence Carter were fairly effective. And I like the fact that you tried to get Terrence Carter in space, who's one of your better playmakers. But it just felt like, to Conrad's point, the ball's over the middle. There were several moments where I thought he rushed it in the pocket. Maybe Behren didn't trust the offensive line and thought, I don't have as much time as I do. But Oregon was not getting a ton of pressure to him. It looked like he had an extra half second to a second. Yeah, that he didn't maybe think he had, and that forced him out of several reads. And so, and dude, I mean, he probably threw 4 or 5 interception-worthy balls. Like the deep pass downfield should have been picked. The quick check route to Terrence Carter should have been picked. And so you're talking about 4 or 5 potential, plus the fumble, turnover-worthy plays for Behren. He had a PFF grade of 35.5 today, I think. And so you can't check everything down to one guy in a football game with 22 players on the field that make a difference on offense and defense and special teams as well. You missed the field goal early on, just not a lot of momentum. But I'm not going to fault Stone for missing a 54-yarder. And so it's kind of like it just felt like from the very beginning of the game, Texas Tech was looking like they didn't trust that the offense could move the ball effectively. And then you just kept running the inside zones. And Cameron Dickey, I mean, we can't just not fault him for spinning on an inside handoff and keeping the ball on his interior hand and it just getting knocked out and him fumbling.
But Cameron has had fumbling problems this year. That is not the first time he has fumbled.
But that was a moment too where, and dude, I feel so bad. And I don't want to blame everybody just on the offense, but it's hard to obviously score 0 points. You
can't blame
23. You can't blame the defense for anything, but they were put in so many unfortunate positions and they held them to field goals. They essentially gave up 1 touchdown. And I don't know exactly right now where Oregon's starting field position was, but
it was like on our 45. There's like
45. So you're giving Oregon half a field, one of the best teams in the country, one of the best offensive units in the entire country, with arguably a top 5 pick in this next year's NFL draft if he wants to be. And you held him to 1 touchdown from him starting on his own 45-yard line. That's how good your defense was.
And that's what's so crazy to me about this whole season, right? I mean, there was all this talk, last year of, with Behren having the surgery, what are you going to do? Are you going to go out and get a quarterback? Are you going to go get Carson Beck that was rumored? Obviously, that didn't happen. But, looking back, I mean, and this, again, is no disrespect to Behren. It's just like when you play like that in that game, it's like, for all Red Raiders everywhere, we're asking the question, we used to be known as the offensive school. And now we get shut out in the Orange Bowl. Like, that doesn't sit well with us. And, also, I need to just say this for all the people out there that are going to say, well, JMU scored 35 on Oregon. Yeah, JMU did score 35 on Oregon, second string and third string. Yeah, they did. And with a mobile quarterback, that's not what we had out there. So you can say that, and that is true. That's what happened. But these are apples and oranges. These are not the same thing. And so that's discouraging. But again, it is what it is.
Conrad, I thought you made an excellent point. The thing that I noticed most about Behren was the thing that he's been good at all year, and it's not something that gets you drafted, but his ability to throw short routes, screens, have almost always been perfect. And he was missing guys, I mean, like, not even catchable. And it's like even his worst throws were catchable, and that was just something weird to me. I don't know what that was, but I thought that was a good point that you made. He was just incredibly off. Not just in poor decision making. I wanted to get to some of the stuff in the chat. Chance, the Corey you talked about, are they going to make a change at quarterback next year? Behren has exhausted eligibility. He will not be returning. You're expected to pursue a portal quarterback, and by all accounts, if you're on Red River Sports and you kind of see some of the stuff that the staff and guys that are plugged in are talking about, it is expected that you are going to go try to get Brendan Sorsby, and that the quote was the financial part will not be a hindrance for you. So that's the expectation, that you're going to go out and get a new QB next year. Now things change. The portal changes so quickly. We all remember
it opens tomorrow.
Yeah, it opens tomorrow. And I expect, and also if you're on Red River Sports, we're expected to host Brendan Sorsby on Saturday. So this could be, you'd be looking at 48 hours from now, you have your new starting quarterback for next year. Other things. Oh, and I guess he was talking about in the game. That was another topic I guess maybe we could get into. I texted do you give Mitch a shot? Because he can at least run. I get there's a reason Mitch was third string. I think you had to ride with Behren, but I get where you're going with that.
Now wait though. If Will was healthy, I think it would have happened.
I
think it absolutely would have happened.
After the fumble in the end zone, where you get after that, I think it goes 13-0. I think Will Hammond would be on the field after that possession. There's just a moment, and look at this too for this year specifically. Behren Morton did not have to go win you a football game. And I talked about this in the offseason. And I was like, outside of the Iowa State game and the Oklahoma State game last year, Behren Morton has not had to really go control and dominate a game to win you a game. And in the two games this year that were relatively close, again, you won by an average of 22 points all year. Will Hammond beat Utah with his arm. And then against Arizona State, though he did not have the best game, he did throw a touchdown pass with 2 minutes to go to take the lead against the Sun Devils. And Behren Morton was not in those positions due to injury, but still was not there. And so I just think in these moments where the lights are bright, we talked about this in our preview episode, Oregon is one of the best teams in the country. Dan Lanning has been there. These guys on defense have been there. Texas Tech has not. It just looked flustered. And you can blame maybe the 3.5 week bye, and that's something we'll talk about on Monday on our full episode and breakdown of this entire season and game for Tech. But the fact is, you've got to come out ready to go. And whether it was play calling, whether it was you didn't have the skill position players, whatever it is, offensive line, the offense as a whole was horrible. It was just horrible. And Behren Morton played horrible. And that's okay. It's okay to just say that. And just, if you're Texas Tech, you live with the fact that, and I think I said this like week 5 or 6, that this season will probably end with you saying that your offense will be the reason that you eventually lose. I think I was realistic in saying you're not going to win a national championship, but the reason you don't will not be because of your defense. Unfortunately, it happened in the worst possible way in your first playoff game. But, here we are, man. It's still something to be proud of. We're going to break down the entire season episode in our full preview or reaction on Monday. But it's hard. It's hard for me to sit here. I was talking to a lot of Red Raiders at the Hard Rock Casino and people in Miami, and a lot of people still felt proud. Like, I mean, guys,
and you should.
You won the Big 12 championship for the first time in your history. You won 12 games, and you got to get onto a national level stage with a bye against a blue blood in college football in Oregon. And so it sucks how you lost, but I would take this 10 times out of 10, man. I think a lot of Redditors feel that. Vince is saying, do you think a QB change should have been made at the third quarter? And I do, Zyler, to your point, like Mitch Griffiths being your third string quarterback, it just would make it very difficult to go from the guy and the senior that's led you here. Joey was never going to take Behren out of the game. It wouldn't have. I just don't think that would have happened.
If Mitch gave you a better chance
I don't think it was
win the game, like, I think there's this misconception that, like, I'm going to let this guy ride it out because he's been our guy. And maybe there's some of that. The coaches want to win this game so much more than any of us fans do. Like, in a way that we cannot imagine. They have so much more pressure. I promise, like, if they thought a QB sitting on the bench was going to give them a better chance to win the game, they're going to make that call, especially with a guy his eligibility. Like, what are you going to do? Like, he can't transfer. It's not a big deal if they thought Mitch gave them a better chance, Mitch would have been in the game. it's frustrating because you want to see something different. And I think maybe his mobility would help, but I think
Dude, he can't see over the line. He can't see.
Like,
You're
Behren
telling
was getting
me
his balls
against
batted down.
yeah, then you're gonna put in a guy 3 inches shorter? No, that's not gonna work. Like it's just I don't know.
The thing
And
that
that's
bothers me
what
about-
that's what frustrates. Or go ahead, Zyler. We're
the
probably
thing
gonna
that
say the
bothers
exact
me
same thing.
when I watch Fernando, it's that the arm talent is not that much different from Behren. It's the mobility and the athleticism that I think Behren has unfairly gotten taken from him over the last couple of years. And that's what it's like. Barron's so close.
Yeah,
to
but
be-
it's also, dude, it's also the eyes. Like I saw a specific play with Fernando today against Bama where he goes check 1, check 2, check 3 in about a second and a half, and nothing's there. And then boom, he's gone. And it was like a 9-yard run, and it sets up 2nd and 1. And I'm just like, we didn't have that. We did not have that. And that's the quarterbacks. You see the best quarterbacks in the world, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow. These guys, they get to their reads. And I know it's hard to compare a college quarterback to the best guys to do it, but they get to the reads, they see it. If it's not there, they go. And they don't take a lot of bad sacks unless they feel like they have to make a play. And it just felt like it wasn't there for Bear. You mentioned the 3 safety look. It just wasn't there today. It just
really wasn't.
That extra level of elite of what you need to win a championship. So, for example, assuming the Georgia Ole Miss game is currently going on, but you've got Carson Beck, who has been talked about as a potential first-round pick. Conrad, he's been there, done that.
He won't be a first rounder this year, though.
He will be a first rounder.
I think he'll be a first-round pick at some point. Quarterback, you got to take a risk on quarterbacks. You got Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore.
I will.
Okay. Just let me finish.
Okay.
And then you've got either Gunnar Stockton or Trinidad Chambliss, but you've got 3 of the 4 guys in the Final 4 at this point that'll be first-round NFL quarterbacks, most likely. Carson Beck might be a day 2 guy, but he's still getting drafted. And so
yeah,
that matters. Like, to win a national championship, that position needs to be elite. And it just isn't for Texas Tech.
And I remember even us, we're sitting here now after the best season in Texas Tech history talking about this, but I remember this offseason we were sitting there, even during the Carson Beck, what happened last portal season. If you lose because you didn't have a quarterback that could take you to that next level, to your point, Brennan, what will the reaction be? And that's what we're seeing right now is Behren is a good quarterback. We have a bad taste in our mouth right now, a great leader, a great Red Raider, but he's just not that. He's not the level that you need to win a national championship. And that what's so hard for so many people is this defense is a national championship level defense, without question. And because we are Texas Tech and we are used to scoring way more points than pretty much anybody else, seeing a goose egg go up when it's large in part due to a quarterback performance, that's just what's really hard. That's what just doesn't sit well with people, all of us included, right? Like it's like 0 points, 0. You couldn't score anything.
And you had
tough.
chances. I mean, dude, you're inside the goal line, like the pick in the end zone. And that's where I really felt
great
like
play from Morgan, but
no, it wasn't. I could have caught that. Like I think the play. I
don't think Behren saw that cornerback dropping.
Exactly, and it's like, dude, it's a too deep look. Like you're throwing it right to him. You're clearly not even seeing the field. That's the biggest thing I took away from the day. You're not seeing the field. We were talking. I'm like looking around, and it's like he didn't see that. He didn't see the second safety. And
what do y'all think about? And I've had this thought. Do you think there's anything to Behren's game where honestly, the first 3 years of his career where the pass protection was just so poor, where it's like he's used to getting nailed in a second and a half, 2 seconds. Like, is there something about that when that repetitively happens over and over and over again? You are just like, I've got to find my first read and throw, or otherwise it's, do something like, and I don't want to say that we ruined Behren. That's not what I'm going to say there, but I wonder how much of his game is affected by how much pressure and how many hits he's taken over his career, and what he's what his left tackle and right tackle situations have been outside of 2025. I mean, has been, bottom 6-ish in the Big 12 usually. I mean, you had an out of place guard playing right tackle for most of his career in Caleb Rogers. Like, God love him, but like, we all remember what that was like sometimes. Like, and I'm not defending Behren because you think about his career, like his performance, and I'm thankful for it. It's just he's just such a huge what if prospect. Like, if Behren was entering your program next season, what does he develop into? when he is constantly surrounded by a good O-line and great receivers, as opposed to what he had for maybe the first 3 to 4 years of his career.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with Zyler, I think you have a great point. It's not. I mean, how after doing that for so. I mean, one of the things that I said on our preview show was, I thought his experience would be a plus for you, and the experience didn't matter at all. You think it was? Well, it should have been on paper, but it wasn't in reality.
I think it was. It wasn't in this game, maybe, but I think it helped you. You know, he hadn't thrown an interception since November, I think, 1st against Kansas State. An interception that didn't really matter. Like, the play wasn't going to get converted anyway. And we said this off air, and I said, boys, and I should have said it in the episode. It's like, we are due for the horrible Behren turnover game. We haven't had one. And like,
you did say that. You did say that.
It's just, and not that I wanted to put that on, but it's like, we're due for that. It's coming. But I think what he did in Big 12 play, what he did against BYU in a lot of those games, just not turning the ball over and not putting your team in bad spots for the most part. His sack problem, I think, was a real thing. I think that was an experience. You saw Hammond would randomly fumble the ball trying to throw. You know, some of the stuff you're like, oh, dude, come on. Like, so I think his experience did help you. It was not a factor today. It was not helping you at all.
Yeah. And that's what I meant was today. It wasn't. I thought it was going to be a plus today in this game, and it just wasn't. And Zyler, I think there's a lot to your point. We'll never actually know, but I think Beren's career arc and trajectory at Texas Tech, obviously starting under Wells, then having, you know, I think who was his first offense coordinator? Was it Yost?
Yost.
No,
Yost,
it was Yost. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's where the blame goes. That's where the blame goes.
Kitley. So he had 4 OCs in 5 years.
Yeah, and the talent level around him was greatly better now than it ever was then. But I think there is something to be said for what he experienced those first few years versus now. I think it played a large factor in his maybe stunted growth even as a college quarterback.
And the injuries too.
Yeah.
Playing on a broken leg.
Yeah, there's a lot about Behren that happened to him or the rosters around him that give an excuse on why he was never maybe able to reach his full potential. But the weird thing about this is that he is the first quarterback to win you a Big 12 championship and to win 12 games. And so his name and history of Tech is going to be interesting. But at the end of the day, a lot of that.
Where does he rank for you guys?
Now?
I don't know. Like, off the cuff,
in this moment,
me 5 hours after the loss. You know, I'm sitting here in Miami.
You're never going to be able to get that. And again, this is no disrespect to Behren. He's a great guy. He loves Texas Tech. You could see it on his face in the press conference. He is absolutely gutted right now. But what I said after he won the Big 12 championship, that I would have him 3. Honestly, he's probably between 5 and 10 for me right now because of the way it ended and how bad it was.
Dude.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know that you will. It's going to happen. He played 5 years at Tech. I don't know that we will ever have another QB that does something like that. In the way that
what's the criteria? What's the criteria for this ranking?
And somebody said too, they're like, you know, Graham Harrell and BJ Simmons and Pat Mahomes never crumbled on a stage like this. I'm like, none of those guys even got close to playing on a stage like this.
Yeah, that's true.
None of them did. And that's not to say that they I think Graham Harrell and Pat and BJ probably would have been better today. I can admit that.
Well, okay. I'll say Graham. I mean, Graham's moment against Texas, I think it's not a playoff game, obviously, or a championship, but like, you know, he got to 11 wins. Like, he's the closest thing to having been on a stage. But
Graham, I still like Graham more than Behren. I'm not. That's what I'm not. I'm just.
Well, but what are we talking? Are we talking like stats all time, or what?
Favorite.
Like who's my favorite? Then Beren's definitely in the top 5 for me. Who's my favorite? Yeah. It'd be Graham. I guess then at that point it would be Behren would still be number 3 for me.
Yeah.
At that point, I was just talking like holistic career, everything. I would have dropped him after today because of.
That's something that I think we definitely should break down later. Like, how do we judge the career of Behren and some of these other guys too? But I just think I do want to close this with how proud I am overall. One, from the defense and just Jacob and David and Romello. Like, I think I was more sad, not even that you lost, because to be honest, as much as I said, like, Texas Tech could win a national championship, and I believe that, like the reality is, did I think you were going to go beat Oregon, Indiana, then potentially a Georgia or Ohio State or Miami or whoever it's going to be on that side of the bracket? Like realistically, no. Like in my deepest of hearts, I didn't really think you probably had enough to go beat those three teams or a pool of them,
3 in a row,
back to back to back weeks. And so I kind of prepared myself for the loss. I think I'm more sad and disappointed in the fact that I'm not going to see David Bailey and Romello Height and Jacob
Totally.
Rodriguez on the
Yeah.
defensive side of the ball next year, and some of these other guys. And you hope with the portal that you can keep guys like John Curry and Ben Roberts, and I'm sure you will, and Pollock and some of these guys. But the amount of pride that I have for that side of the ball and for those guys in particular, it made me actually more proud, I think, in the loss leaving, going like, those guys proved it. They showed they were a top defense in the country. They showed they were top 3. Your offense couldn't keep up, but at the end of the day, like you did not, in my mind, show the committee or the national stage you didn't belong. Like that defense showed they could beat the Cleveland Browns. Like that's like they showed they're that good. And I do think that at the end of this, that's what I hope we look back on the most, is that you had a special unit of special guys. Unfortunately, it did not end in a national championship, but it got you to your goal, which was winning the Big 12 championship and giving yourself a chance and putting Tech on the map. And those guys did that. They were the calling card of this team. And I just hope that we remember that. So,
yeah. And even, none of this happens if you don't hire Joey McGuire. None of it.
Point.
None of it. He I think it's not even a conversation at this point. He's the best head coach in Texas Tech history. What he did this year with this team, what he's built this program into, the best start of any coach in Texas Tech history. And so proud that he's our head coach. So proud that he's building this program. Texas Tech isn't done. This is just the start. He said that in the press conference. And so just really proud of these players, these coaches, and really proud to be a Red Raider even after today. A hard day, but just reminds us that, we're not finished yet.
Z, final thoughts?
Yeah, I think I would echo, and I don't want to repeat verbatim what both of you guys have said, because I agree wholeheartedly with your point, Conrad, and with Brennan. The defense, man, was just phenomenal. And I mean, time after time, just put in horrendous situations. It's a miracle the game wasn't 42-0 at the third quarter. We've seen Tech defenses where you put a little bit of adversity against them, and it's like the floodgates are open. And we knew that wasn't this defense, but Lee Hunter, man, that first tackle on their first run play of the game, I was like, oh, baby, we are here. Let's go. And he made that big 4th down stop. You had that 4th down stop with Dante Moore. You had the Ben Roberts interception. You had the David Bailey sack. And you couldn't get any bounces to go your way, man. They had fumbles in this. You just couldn't get any of that stuff to bounce your way, which was unfortunate. And the other thing I'll say, and I'm going to sound like a Utah fan, this game was closer than the score indicated, but you're in the red zone down. It was 13-0. You had the ball first and goal from the 9. And, man, if you could have just found a way to score, what does it look like? And I know it didn't. You lost 23-0. And so, I'm not going to use that phrase, never mind. But I was really proud of that defensive unit. They did an excellent job. I thought it was the best game that they played all year, and they did us proud.
Yeah, man. Well, we will be back normal scheduled programming to break it down in full on Monday. And just, it's a tough thing to react to a couple hours after the fact of the game. It's hard, it's sad, but if you're a Red Raider fan, I know there's some Oregon fans in the comment too, and Frosty Mugg says, I'm an Oregon fan, and I think the Big 12 proved they're the second best conference. Texas Tech isn't going anywhere. So good thing for Frosty Mugg, and we appreciate you.
Frosty.
And there were a lot of Oregon fans in our preview episode giving us a lot of crap, and we never said Oregon wasn't good. We have a lot of respect for Oregon. I think they'll make a run I think Indiana, Oregon's going to be a great battle. So Frosty, good luck to you, here in a week in Atlanta. But if you're a Texas Tech fan, just hang your hat high, man. This is something that it's tough now, but if you would have taken a 12-2 record in a Big 12 championship and a loss to Oregon in the Orange Bowl, and you gave me that in August, I'm signing up any day of the week.
Buddy, without a doubt.
And so we're here. It's frustrating. You never want to, end the season on a loss. It's never the goal of any team in the country. But here we are, and we'll work on it. And so, You know, we've got a lot of questions coming in too, but I know we're short on time. But offensive line, Pont and Sampson, we'll break down. We've got episodes all next week on what's next for Texas Tech football. We'll touch on portal. We've got reactions for any big portal things that come up. So anything that comes up, we'll be here to break it down for you guys on Monday and Thursday next week and talk about Texas Tech season in a whole and what to expect in the offseason. But just so proud of all the Red Raiders that made their way out to Lubbock, or excuse me, to Miami. We had a blast out here in South Florida. I think I'm moving here. I'm going to check out property here tomorrow morning. It's great down here. I'm having a blast in Miami, man. But we will see you guys on Monday morning. If this is your first time checking us out, feel free to subscribe on YouTube, follow us, give us a like, rate on Spotify or Apple. But we love all of you shufflers. We love all the Texas Tech fans. And we will be back next year, man. This is just the beginning. So, Conrad, I will finish with that, but I will give you the final word.
No, I just want to say thank you guys. We saw so many shufflers in Miami. My father-in-law and I were at a dinner at a place near South Beach and saw some good friends of the show that listen, and that was really cool, and just fun to see so many more of you guys in person. Saw a couple people at the game. It was a really enjoyable experience for everybody. So even though the score didn't work out the same way we thought it would, always a fun time seeing shufflers out there in Red Raider Nation.
Yeah, man. And hey, if you're on Twitter and you're posting BS, just stop. You know, give it 24 hours.
Yep.
I won't name another guy, but you know, I'm just seeing some guys I'm not having a big fan of on Twitter. So we'll talk about it. We'll leave it there, man. But we will see you guys on Monday, and hope everyone had a great new year. And with Zyler, Conrad, and Brennan, this was the Broadway Shuffle, and we'll see you guys on Monday. Keep
Thanks,
hope alive and wreck 'em.
Bye.